The morning light filled the halls of the palace with silver warmth. Queen Allura stood beside the grand window of her chamber, looking down at the capital city. From her high balcony, the streets looked calm, but she knew there was unrest growing below. Ever since the attack during the royal ceremony, her council had become uneasy. They did not like that the human guard, Daniel, had saved her life in front of the entire court. For the Vereen people, pride was everything. A queen being rescued by someone from a race they called the lesser kind was an insult to their pride. Yet Allura did not feel insulted. She felt something else, something she could not name. Every time she thought about that moment, she remembered the way Daniel had stepped in front of her without hesitation. He had no armor strong enough to stop a plasma shot, no shield of energy, only courage. That courage lingered in her mind like a light she could not ignore. During the morning meeting, her council gathered around a long table of crystal. Holographic screens floated above them, showing updates from across the empire. The ministers discussed trade routes, ship construction, and border patrols, but their words felt distant. Allura's thoughts drifted until General Rovan spoke. "Majesty, there is also the matter of the human guard," he said carefully. "The court believes his presence near you is unconventional. They question if he is worthy of such a post." Allura's eyes lifted sharply. "Are you questioning my decision, General?" Rovan bowed his head. "Never, Majesty. I only bring you the voice of the court. Some fear that your trust in him might cause doubt among our allies." The queen stood, her expression calm but strong. "If one human service can shake the faith of our allies, then our empire's pride is weaker than I thought." The hall fell silent. None dared to speak further. Later that day, Allura called for a private audience with Daniel. He entered her chamber quietly, bowing with the same respect as always. "You called for me, Majesty?" he asked. She turned from the window to face him. "Yes, I wish to test something." He looked slightly confused but did not question her. The queen walked to the center of the room where two training swords rested. They were made from a special alloy that could not kill but could deliver sharp energy shocks. She picked up one and held it out to him. "Take it," she said. Daniel hesitated. "Majesty, I am not trained in your kind of sword combat." "That is why I wish to see how you adapt," Allura replied. "Defend yourself!" She attacked suddenly, her movements fast and graceful. The first swing forced Daniel to block instinctively. Sparks flashed as the blades met. The queen's strikes were elegant but powerful, each movement designed to test him. Daniel struggled to keep up, his arms trembling from the force of her blows. He stumbled backward, barely deflecting her next strike. "Majesty, if I strike back, I could—" "Do not hold back," she ordered. Daniel obeyed. He adjusted his stance, recalling techniques from human combat training. He started focusing on timing rather than strength. When Allura struck again, he sidestepped and blocked at the right angle, using her momentum to create space. She raised an eyebrow, impressed. The duel lasted several minutes. When it ended, both stopped, breathing hard. A small burn mark showed on Allura's shoulder where Daniel's sword had grazed her armor. She looked down at it, then back at him. "You learn quickly," she said. Daniel lowered his sword. "I try to improve, Majesty. I never want to fail my duty." Her expression softened. "You have not failed. You have shown me something important. You are not timid, Daniel. You are careful. There is a difference." He bowed slightly. "Thank you, Majesty." As he left, Allura found herself smiling faintly, a rare sight even to herself. She had tested him not just in combat but in spirit. She wanted to see what lay beneath his calm surface. Now she had her answer. His strength was not in muscle or power, but in discipline and patience. News of the duel spread quickly through the palace. Some claimed the queen had found a worthy guard. Others whispered that she was becoming too close to a human. The gossip reached even the servants and soldiers. Whenever Daniel walked through the halls, he could feel their stares. Yet he never reacted. He moved through his duties quietly, as if the whispers did not exist. But Allura heard them. During council dinners, she noticed the sideways glances, the subtle smirks. Pride was part of her nature, and she could not allow anyone to think she was being swayed by emotion. Still, every time she looked at Daniel standing silently at his post, she felt a strange calm that she had not felt in years. One evening, after a long day of meetings, she walked into the garden again. The air was cool, and the moons hung large and bright above the crystal trees. Daniel followed at a respectful distance, keeping watch. "Tell me," she said suddenly, "why did you choose to become a guard? Humans could serve in science or trade, yet you chose danger." Daniel thought for a moment before replying. "Where I come from, many people seek peace through safety. I thought the best way to protect peace was to stand where danger is closest." She looked at him with quiet curiosity. "You speak like someone much older than you are." "My father used to say that peace is not given. It is guarded," he replied. Those words stayed with her. In her empire, peace was maintained through strength, but his meaning was different. His idea of peace came from care, not control. As they continued walking, Allura stopped beside a silver pond that reflected the stars. "Daniel, do you ever fear living among aliens who look down on your kind?" He shook his head. "Fear does not help, Majesty. I only focus on what I can do." That simple sentence carried more weight than any long speech. Allura had seen seasoned commanders lose their temper over insults, yet this human accepted everything with calm strength. His humility challenged her understanding of pride itself. In the following days, she decided to test him in other ways. She sent him with a small team to escort a diplomatic envoy across the mountains of Varine. The journey was known to be dangerous because of rebel activity. Many thought the Queen was sending him to prove his worth or to fail. The mission lasted 4 days. When they returned, the envoy was safe, but Daniel's armor was scratched and burnt. He had taken a hit while shielding a fallen soldier. When the Queen heard this, she summoned him again. "You were injured," she said. "It was minor, Majesty." "I am fine," he replied. She frowned slightly. "You risked your life again. Do you always put others before yourself?" "If it saves lives, yes," he said simply. Allura turned away, hiding the faint emotion rising in her chest. She had met many warriors who claimed to fight for honor or glory, but Daniel's reason was pure. There was no pride in his voice, only sincerity. That evening, she stood by her balcony, watching the sunset over the silver horizon. The city below was alive with lights, and ships moved through the sky like glowing birds. Daniel stood guard quietly outside her chamber. She could hear his steady footsteps and the soft hum of his communicator. For reasons she could not explain, that small sound gave her peace. In the days that followed, something began to change inside her. She caught herself looking for him in the halls, noticing the calm way he handled each task. When other guards argued, he listened. When tensions rose, he stayed composed. His presence was like a steady flame that refused to fade. Her closest attendant, a female officer named Nira, noticed the Queen's growing curiosity. "Majesty," she said gently one morning, "the human guard continues to attract attention. The nobles are beginning to talk." "Let them talk," Allura said without hesitation. "Their pride blinds them. They mistake silence for weakness." Nira hesitated. "Do you trust him fully, Majesty?" Allura looked out the window again. "I do not know yet, but I intend to find out." That night, Allura held a private dinner for her high officers. Daniel stood near the entrance as always. During the meal, one noble made a cruel remark. "Humans are strange creatures," he said with a laugh. "So fragile and small. I wonder how long one would last in true combat." Daniel did not respond, but Allura's gaze turned sharp. "Perhaps longer than some of our own would," she said coldly. The room fell silent. No one dared to speak again. When the dinner ended, she walked past Daniel and said softly, "You may not realize it, but your silence teaches them more than their arrogance ever will." Daniel bowed his head. "Thank you, Majesty." As she returned to her chamber, Allura felt a strange warmth in her heart. The proud Queen of Vereen, who had always believed emotion to be weakness, now found herself admiring the quiet strength of a human. She did not understand why, but she could no longer deny it. Far beyond the palace, stars glimmered over the sleeping city. The Queen of Vereen, for the first time in her reign, began to wonder if true power was not in commanding fear, but in earning respect through kindness. And though she did not yet know it, this small change in her heart would soon challenge the very foundations of her empire.
The stars above the planet Varen shone like cold diamonds across the night sky. The royal city beneath them was a masterpiece of alien design, filled with tall spires that glowed with soft silver light. Each tower reached high toward the stars, as if the proud people of Varen were always reminding the universe of their greatness. Queen Allura stood at the highest balcony of her palace, watching the capital below. Her figure was tall and graceful, her silver-blue skin reflecting the glow of the moons. She wore a crown shaped like folded wings, the mark of the Varen royal line. To her people, she was not only a ruler but a symbol of power, discipline, and pride. No one dared to speak casually in her presence. Every gesture, every word was measured. Yet tonight, the Queen's mind was restless. The galaxy had entered a new age of alliances, and one of those alliances included a species that many of her council found strange and weak: humans. They were a young race, still learning the ways of the stars. They lacked the advanced biology of other species, had limited lifespans, and could be injured easily. But there was something unusual about them too. They were creative, quick learners, and their emotions ran deeper than most alien species could understand. Queen Allura had seen only a few humans during peace meetings. They spoke politely, but always seemed slightly nervous around her. She had never thought much about them until one was assigned to her palace guard. His name was Daniel. When the news came that a human would join her personal protection detail, the entire court was surprised. Some advisors even objected. "Your Majesty," said General Rovan, her head of security, "a human may not be suited for the demands of royal protection. Their strength and reflexes are below standard." Allura had listened without emotion. "Then let him prove it," she replied. "If the human cannot meet our standards, he will be dismissed." That simple statement silenced the hall. The Queen's word was final. A few days later, Daniel arrived. He was average in height compared to the towering alien guards, with short dark hair and calm brown eyes. He wore the uniform of the Varen Royal Guard, modified for human proportions. His movements were steady, careful, and precise. There was nothing loud or heroic about him, but there was something sincere in the way he carried himself. During his introduction, the Queen stood before her new guards. The vast throne room glowed with golden light. Her voice filled the air, clear and commanding. "You serve not only me, but the honor of Vajaren. Any failure in your duty is a failure against the crown. Do you understand?" Every guard shouted their response. Daniel did not shout. He placed his right hand over his chest and simply said, "Yes, Your Majesty." His quiet voice barely reached her ears, but it caught her attention. In that hall full of proud warriors, he did not try to stand out. He only tried to do his part. For the next several days, Daniel trained with the royal security team. The others were faster, stronger, and far more aggressive. He struggled at first to match their speed. The alien weapons were unfamiliar, and their combat style was unlike anything he had seen on Earth. Yet, he did not complain. He practiced late into the night, repeating movements again and again until he could perform them smoothly. Some guards mocked him behind his back, calling him the Fragile One. Others ignored him completely. But Daniel never responded to the insults. He focused on learning, on understanding how the aliens thought and moved. His patience began to show results. When a drill required strategy instead of strength, he excelled. He found ways to outthink opponents rather than overpower them. Queen Allura noticed. She often watched the training sessions from her private balcony above the courtyard. She was not supposed to care about such things, but curiosity drew her in. The human never showed anger or arrogance. When he failed, he simply started again. When he succeeded, he did not boast. She found that quality unusual among soldiers. One evening, while reviewing reports in the council chamber, Allura brought up his name. "This human guard," she said to General Rovan. "He continues to train after hours. Does he seek recognition?" The general shook his head. "No, Majesty. He avoids attention. The others say he prefers silence. It seems he simply wishes to do his duty." Allura gave a small nod. "Interesting," she said. That same night, a storm rolled across the capital. The sky turned violet, and thunder echoed through the spires. The queen walked through her private garden under a transparent dome, the lights of the storm flashing above her. She was alone except for the quiet footsteps of her assigned guards. Daniel was among them. When the lightning struck close to the dome, one of the guards stepped forward nervously, but Allura did not flinch. The Vereran were not known for fear. Still, she could sense Daniel's gaze, steady and protective. She turned to him. "Do storms frighten you, human?" she asked. He shook his head. "No, Majesty. On my world, they remind us that nature is stronger than pride." Her eyebrows lifted slightly. An unusual answer. "It is what I was taught," he said simply. Allura said nothing more, but his words stayed with her long after the storm passed. Days turned into weeks. Daniel became a quiet presence in her daily life. He walked beside her in the halls, stood guard during meetings, and was always nearby when she addressed the court. He spoke little unless spoken to, but his awareness was sharp. Once, during a ceremony, he noticed a faint reflection of a hidden weapon in a servant's tray. Without hesitation, he moved, pulling the queen aside just as a small plasma shot missed her by inches. The entire hall fell silent. Guards rushed to capture the attacker, but Daniel had already subdued him. His movements were fast and efficient, not like a man of fear, but of calm control. After the incident, the queen summoned him privately. "You reacted before my guards did," she said. "How did you see it?" Daniel bowed slightly. "I noticed the reflection in the silver tray, Majesty. I acted on instinct." "Instinct," Allura repeated. "Many claim to have it. Few use it so wisely. You have my gratitude." He looked surprised. "I only did my duty." That answer once again struck her. She studied his expression, expecting some trace of pride or self-importance, but there was none. It was as if he believed saving her life was nothing more than a task to be completed. The queen dismissed him with a nod, but when he left, she remained thoughtful. For the first time in years, she found herself wondering about someone beyond their title or rank. In the following days, she noticed small details she had never paid attention to before. The human's steps were always measured to match her pace. He opened doors quietly to avoid startling her. When other guards looked away during long meetings, Daniel's eyes never wandered. It was not obedience born of fear, but genuine focus. The court, however, was not blind to the queen's growing interest. Whispers began to spread among nobles. Some called it fascination. Others called it weakness. "The queen watches the human too often," one advisor said. "He is not worthy of her attention." When this reached Allura's ears, she dismissed the concern with a sharp look. Yet deep inside, she was unsettled. Why did she care? She had ruled empires, commanded fleets, and faced rebellions. But now, a quiet human guard had begun to occupy her thoughts. One afternoon, During a routine patrol of the palace gardens, she spoke to him again. "You are not like the others," she said. "You do not speak of glory or honor." "Why is that?" Daniel thought for a moment before answering. "Because glory fades, Majesty. Duty stays." The simplicity of his words disarmed her more than any battle ever had. She turned her gaze to the silver horizon beyond the palace walls. "You humans see the universe differently," she said softly. "Yes," Daniel replied. "Maybe that is why we learn fast. We are still new to the stars." Allura studied him in silence. The timid human was no longer just a guard in her eyes. There was depth behind that calm expression, strength behind that quiet voice. It was not the kind of strength the Varaner valued, but something purer. As night fell, the queen walked back to her chambers. The halls were quiet, filled with the soft hum of the palace lights. For the first time in her reign, she felt the weight of loneliness. Power had always been her companion, but power never spoke with honesty or humility. When she reached her chamber door, Daniel bowed and took his post outside. "Rest well, Majesty," he said. Allura paused. "You too, Daniel," she replied, then stepped inside. For a long time, she stood by her window, watching the stars shimmer above the royal city. The galaxy was full of powerful beings. Yet somehow, it was a human quiet, fragile, and kind who had begun to change how she saw strength itself. The proud queen of Varen did not yet understand what was happening in her heart. But the first crack had formed in her walls of pride, and soon all of Varen would feel its echo. The palace of Varen was a place of beauty and pride, but under its shining silver walls, whispers had begun to spread like quiet storms. Every servant, soldier, and noble seemed to have the same topic on their lips: the human guard who had earned the queen's attention. Daniel had never asked for fame. He had never wanted to stand out, but his calm courage and silent discipline had made him impossible to ignore. After the training duel and the dangerous mission that saved the envoy, the story of the human protector spread across the capital. Some spoke of him with admiration. Others, especially the nobles, spoke with envy and suspicion. They believed the queen had become too fond of the human. In their eyes, such emotion was weakness. The Varen Empire had always been built on discipline and pride, and the thought of their ruler showing kindness toward a human disturbed them deeply. Queen Allura was aware of these whispers, but she pretended not to care. She had ruled empires and crushed rebellions. She had no reason to fear gossip. Yet, somewhere deep in her heart, she felt a quiet unease. She knew her actions were being watched more closely than ever. One morning, during a council meeting, the tension finally reached her ears. The room was filled with high-ranking officials. General Rovan stood near the center, reading reports from the border fleets. Minister Kale, a proud and shock-tongued noble, interrupted. "Majesty," he said, bowing slightly, "forgive my boldness, but there are growing concerns about your guard. Many in the court wonder why this human continues to serve so close to you when so many trained Varen warriors wait for the honor." Allura's eyes turned toward him, her gaze calm but sharp. "Because he has earned that place," she said. Kale bowed again, but did not back down. "Of course, Majesty. Yet perception shapes power. The people may see your favor as something unusual." Her tone cooled. "Then the people must learn that I favor skill, not bloodline." The room went silent. No one dared speak after that. But the message of that conversation spread beyond the chamber walls. By the next sunrise, every corner of the palace was buzzing with the story of how the queen had defended her human guard. That evening, Daniel was walking through the outer courtyard when two alien guards blocked his path. They were tall and strong, their armor gleaming under the palace lights. "You must be proud of yourself, human," one said with a sneer. "The queen speaks for you in council now." Daniel kept his voice steady. I did not ask her to. Of course not, the second guard said mockingly. But perhaps you are cleverer than you look. Maybe you know how to earn her attention. Daniel frowned but did not react. He stepped around them quietly and continued his patrol. He had faced worse words before, but as he walked away, the guard's laughter echoed behind him. He said nothing to anyone, yet Alora somehow learned of the insult by the end of the day. The next morning, she ordered both guards reassigned to the outer colonies. No one dared question her decision, but the message was clear. The Queen would not tolerate disrespect toward her protector. This only fueled the rumors more by now. Every noble at court had formed an opinion about the human. Some called him a loyal hero. Others whispered that he had charmed the Queen through strange human tricks. They watched him during banquets, waiting for a mistake. But Daniel gave them none. He spoke little, moved precisely, and treated everyone with quiet respect. Despite the tension around him, Daniel's loyalty never wavered. To him, his duty was simple: to keep the Queen safe. He did not care for politics, for power, or for pride. But one evening, that quiet duty was tested. The Queen was attending a celebration in the Hall of Suns, a place made of glass and glowing crystals that reflected the colors of the three moons. Hundreds of nobles filled the room. Music played softly, and the air smelled of alien flowers. Daniel stood near the entrance, watching every movement carefully. A group of foreign ambassadors from the Arleth Confederation entered. They bowed deeply to the Queen and spoke in perfect formality. But one of them, a tall alien with emerald skin, looked directly at Daniel and smirked. "So this is the famous human," he said loudly. "The one who has caught the attention of the mighty Queen Alora." The room grew quiet. All eyes turned toward them. Daniel said nothing, but Alora's gaze hardened. "You are my court ambassador," she said coldly. "Mind your tongue." The ambassador chuckled. "Forgive me, Majesty. I only find it fascinating that a human, of all beings, could rise so high in your favor." Before Alora could respond, Daniel spoke quietly, his tone calm but firm. "In my world, we respect those we serve, not those who insult them." A ripple of surprise passed through the hall. The alien's smirk faded, and he lowered his gaze. The Queen's lips curved slightly, not in mockery but in pride. When the evening ended, and the guests had left, Alora walked beside Daniel through the silent corridors. "You handled that well," she said. "I only said what was true," he replied. She looked at him with quiet admiration. "You understand dignity better than many born to it." He gave a small smile. "I learned it by watching you, Majesty." For a moment, neither spoke. The silence between them was calm, almost peaceful. The Queen found herself wanting to know more about this quiet man who spoke with such honesty. The next day, the court was alive with new rumors. Some nobles whispered that the Queen smiled at the human. Others said she had been seen walking beside him in the palace halls. Their jealousy grew, and with it came danger. Late one night, while Daniel was on patrol near the east wing, he noticed a faint light flicker from the shadows. His instincts screamed a warning. Without hesitation, he moved toward the source. A hidden drone slipped out of the darkness, its weapon ready to fire. Daniel dove to the side, pulling out his pulse blade and striking the drone before it could shoot. Sparks burst across the floor. When he examined the remains, he saw the mark of the noble houses. It was not a rebel device, but one from the court itself. Someone had sent it by morning. Queen Alora knew everything. She stood before her advisors, her voice cold and clear. "Someone in this court dares to attack my guards inside my palace. This insult will not go unpunished." No one spoke. No one admitted guilt, but the Queen's tone made them tremble. She ordered a full investigation. That night, she called Daniel to her private chamber once again. The two stood in the soft glow of moonlight. "You could have died," she said quietly. "It is my duty to face danger." Daniel answered, "Your duty does not require you to face it alone," she said. Daniel looked surprised. "Majesty, I cannot let harm come to you, and I cannot allow you to bear every risk for me," she replied. For the first time, the proud queen felt something she had long hidden: concern. She was not supposed to feel such emotions for anyone outside her royal line, especially not a human. But Daniel's calmness, his courage, and his quiet respect had broken through the walls she had built around her heart. She turned toward the window, trying to hide her expression. "You have shown this court that humanity is not weakness," she said. "You have shown me that strength can wear many forms." He bowed slightly. "That means much, Majesty." As he left her chamber, Allura remained by the window for a long time. Below, the city glowed under the night sky, peaceful for now. Yet she knew that peace would not last. The jealousy of the nobles was growing, and the court's unity was beginning to fracture. Daniel's presence had become more than a symbol of loyalty. To some, he was a threat, a reminder that the proud traditions of Varen could change. In the following days, she noticed more tension during her meetings. Nobles spoke to her with careful words, hiding their discontent behind polite smiles. Her closest allies warned her that a group of lords was planning to question her leadership in the Council of Stars. One evening, Allura stood alone in the throne room, the vast hall echoing with her thoughts. She had ruled through fear and respect all her life. But now she was facing a new kind of challenge, not from outside enemies, but from within her own walls. And at the center of it all stood a quiet human guard who had never sought power but had somehow changed everything. The proud Queen of Varen knew the storm was coming. Yet, as she looked at the faint reflection of Daniel standing at his post near the door, she felt no fear. She had seen in him something stronger than any weapon: loyalty born from heart, not command. The whispers in the court grew louder each day, but the queen was no longer alone in facing them. She now had a reason to stand stronger than ever before. The Grand Chamber of Varen was the largest room in the royal palace. Its crystal walls reflected the light of the three moons, creating a kaleidoscope of colors across the floor. Here, the queen held council, made decisions about the empire, and judged matters of life and death. Today, it would serve as the stage for a test of loyalty that no one could ignore. Rumors about Daniel had grown louder. Many nobles whispered that he had somehow charmed the queen, bending her judgment to his human will. They claimed a human could not be trusted with such a high position. Some even suggested he had secret allies outside the palace, plotting against the throne. Allura had been aware of these rumors for weeks, and she had tolerated them until now. But when a group of powerful lords presented fabricated evidence of Daniel's supposed treachery, she knew the time for words had passed. The queen called a formal trial in the Grand Chamber. All members of the court were present, as well as the royal security team. Daniel was summoned. He entered the chamber quietly, as always, his expression calm and composed. His pulse blade hung at his side, though it was not needed for ceremony. Allura sat on her throne, high above the floor, her crown glinting in the soft light. She addressed the court, her voice steady and commanding. "This chamber is gathered to examine accusations against my guard, Daniel. The claims state that he has plotted against the crown, manipulated the queen, and acted dishonorably. Let him speak in his own defense." Daniel bowed his head slightly. "I am here to answer truthfully, Majesty," he said. "I have done nothing except my duty to protect you and the palace. I have not plotted, lied, or disrespected the throne. My only concern has been the safety of the queen and her court." A murmur ran through the nobles. Many did not expect a human to speak so confidently in such a formal setting. Some were angered by the calm tone. Others were confused by the honesty. One of the chief accusers, Lord Valen, a tall Varen noble with sharp green eyes, stepped forward. "Majesty, This human may claim loyalty, but his very presence weakens the court. How can a timid species guard the most powerful ruler in the galaxy? Alora's gaze turned toward him, sharp and unwavering. A ruler's strength is not measured by the size or species of her guards. It is measured by the courage and skill they show when tested. The lords whispered among themselves. Daniel remained still, his expression calm. Lord Valen continued, his tone harsher. If this human were truly loyal, he would not have drawn the attention of foreign powers. He cannot be trusted. We demand he be removed and punished. Alora's eyes narrowed. Do you have proof beyond rumors and assumptions? No, Majesty, Valen said. But his unusual presence is reason enough for concern. Alora rose from her throne. Her long silver-blue robes shimmered in the chamber's light. Enough. Her voice carried across the hall, firm and commanding. I will not have baseless accusations decide the fate of my guard. If he is guilty, the court will see it, and so will I. If he is innocent, then all of you will learn the value of loyalty and courage. Daniel stepped forward, his hands empty. I accept the trial, Majesty. I have nothing to hide. Alora nodded. Then it begins. The trial was unlike any Daniel had seen. The Queen tested his judgment, his courage, and his dedication. She asked him to recount missions, explain strategies, and describe how he handled dangerous situations. Each answer was truthful, precise, and thoughtful. At one point, she asked about the assassination attempt during the royal ceremony. What was your thought at the moment the plasma shot came toward me? She asked. Daniel paused. I thought only of your safety, Majesty. I did not consider myself, only the Queen and her duty to the Empire. I acted instantly, because hesitation would have allowed harm to come to you. Alora studied him carefully. You could have been killed. I would accept that, Majesty, if it meant you remained safe, he said. A hush fell over the court. The honesty and selflessness in his words were undeniable. The nobles began to shift uneasily. Many of them had never seen such devotion without personal gain. To further test him, the Queen ordered Daniel to undertake a simulated challenge in the chamber. Holographic enemies appeared around him, their weapons glowing. He had to defend the Queen, navigate obstacles, and prevent harm from coming to anyone present. Daniel moved with precision. Though his form was less imposing than the Varen guards, his strategy was unmatched. He anticipated movements, protected civilians, and disarmed threats without hesitation. Every action demonstrated intelligence, calmness, and courage. When the simulation ended, Alora spoke. You have proven your skill, your loyalty, and your courage. You have done everything a guard should do and more. Do you understand why this trial was necessary? Yes, Majesty, Daniel replied. I understand that trust must be earned and proven. Alora turned toward the court. Let all here witness. This human, who stands before you, has shown greater loyalty and courage than many born into our proud line. If you doubt his character, you doubt the very principles of honor and service. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Some nobles bowed their heads in respect. Others clenched their fists in frustration. No one could deny what they had seen. Daniel's actions, words, and calm courage had proven the truth. Lord Valen stepped forward reluctantly. Majesty, perhaps. I misjudged him. Alora's voice was firm. Perhaps you have. Let this be a lesson. Loyalty and courage are not measured by species or size. They are measured by the heart, the mind, and the will to protect what is important. She turned to Daniel. Your duty is not only to me, but to the Empire. You have proven that you are worthy. From this day forward, your place by my side is secure. Daniel bowed. Thank you, Majesty. I will not fail you. That evening, the chamber emptied, but the echoes of the trial remained. Many nobles reconsidered their prejudice against humans. Some began to question the rigid hierarchy that had long ruled the court. Others remained bitter but cautious, knowing that openly opposing the queen's choice could be dangerous. Allura herself returned to her private chambers, her mind restless but satisfied. She had always believed that power was maintained by fear, respect, and strict rules. Yet today, she had seen another kind of power, quiet, steady, and unwavering loyalty. She walked to the balcony overlooking the palace gardens. Daniel was stationed nearby, keeping watch as usual. Even after the trial, he remained humble and calm. There was no pride in his expression, no desire for recognition, only dedication. Allura spoke softly, almost to herself. "You have changed this court without trying, Daniel. You have done more than many of my soldiers and ministers ever could." Daniel looked up at her, a faint smile on his face. "I only do what I must, Majesty." And in that moment, the queen realized something she had never admitted before. The human who had once seemed timid and fragile had become a source of strength she could rely on. His courage and loyalty had proven that sometimes the smallest presence could hold the greatest power. That night, she lingered at her window, watching the lights of the palace below. The empire was vast, filled with proud and powerful beings. Yet the one she trusted most was a human who had shown that loyalty. Courage and honor were not limited by birth, species, or strength. The court may have whispered. The nobles may have doubted, but the queen had seen the truth. Daniel had passed the trial not because of his strength alone, but because of his heart, and the entire palace, even if some would never admit it, had witnessed the quiet rise of a human who would leave a mark on the Varan Empire that could never be erased. Allura returned inside, her steps measured and thoughtful. She no longer saw Daniel as a simple guard. She saw him as a partner in duty, someone whose strength complemented her own. He had proven that even in a court full of pride and power, a single individual, guided by courage and honesty, could shift the balance. The storm of whispers in the court would continue, but the queen's mind was clear. She trusted Daniel, and that trust would guide her as much as any counsel or weapon ever could. For the first time in her life, Allura felt a quiet sense of certainty. The trial was over. The lesson had been learned. Loyalty, honor, and courage could not be measured by appearances alone. And the human standing faithfully at her side had proven it better than anyone else ever could. Outside the palace, the stars shimmered with quiet brilliance. The empire was alive, vibrant, and full of intrigue. But inside the queen's heart, a new understanding had begun to grow, a belief that strength and loyalty could come from the most unexpected places. And in the days to come, that belief would be tested again. The trial of loyalty had ended, but the challenges of the court, the threats of the empire, and the whispers of ambition were only beginning. Daniel's place by her side was secure, but his journey had only just begun. The first light of dawn spilled over the capital city of Varan. Its towers glimmered like silver blades under the rising suns. For centuries, the palace had stood as a symbol of pride and authority, but today it felt different. Change was in the air, subtle yet undeniable. The court had not yet fully recovered from the recent trial of loyalty. Nobles who had doubted Daniel's place were cautious, their words tempered with respect or silence. The queen's favor had shifted the balance of power. Those who once whispered mockery now whispered admiration or grudging acceptance. Queen Allura rose early that morning, standing in her private garden as the morning mist drifted around the crystal trees. Daniel was already there, stationed near the edge of the garden, his posture calm and watchful. He had been up before dawn, as he always was, ensuring the queen's safety even before she asked. "Good morning." "Daniel," she said, her voice calm but carrying warmth. "Good morning." "Majesty," he replied, bowing slightly. "All is secure." Allura studied him, noticing the same steady presence that had first drawn her attention weeks ago. He had not changed, though the court's perception of him had. He remained humble, disciplined, and loyal. The queen felt a quiet satisfaction. The human beside her was proof that loyalty and courage could shape even the most rigid structures. That morning, a council meeting was held to discuss new security measures for the Empire. Daniel was invited, not just as a guard, but as a respected participant. His insights into strategy and human tactics had proven invaluable during the trial. As the council began, one of the nobles, Lady Trina, addressed the room. "Majesty, perhaps this human's perspective could guide us in matters of border defense. His actions have already shown wisdom beyond his species." Alora nodded. "Indeed. Daniel, please share your thoughts." He stepped forward, clear and calm. The rebels and outside forces rely on speed and unpredictability. Humans often rely on observation and strategy to anticipate threats. If we combine their strengths with Varan power, we can create defenses that are both flexible and strong. The council listened carefully. Some shifted in their seats, surprised that a human could command such respect. Others, particularly those who had opposed him, remained silent, knowing their arguments no longer held weight. After the meeting, Alora walked with Daniel through the palace corridors. She felt a quiet pride in the way he carried himself, and how others now looked at him with respect rather than doubt. "You have changed the court," she said softly. Daniel shook his head. "I only did my duty, Majesty. I never sought recognition." Alora smiled faintly. "Your actions speak louder than words. You have earned their respect without demanding it." In the following weeks, the palace slowly began to feel like a different place. The nobles who had resisted Daniel's presence began to see the value of his calm wisdom. Guards who once mocked him now studied his movements and strategies. Even the younger soldiers took lessons from his patience and careful planning. Outside the palace, the citizens of Varan also began to notice the changes. The stories of the human guard who had saved the queen and shown remarkable courage spread through the city. Humans, once seen as fragile and unworthy, were now admired for their skill, loyalty, and intelligence. The queen observed these changes with quiet satisfaction. Her people were learning that strength came in many forms, not only from power or bloodline. She had always believed that pride and authority were the pillars of rule. But Daniel had shown her that true strength also came from character, honesty, and courage. One evening, the queen called Daniel to her private chamber. He entered as always, bowing slightly. "Majesty, you wish to speak with me?" "Yes," she said, gesturing toward the balcony. The city lights below sparkled like stars. "Daniel, you have proven your loyalty, your courage, and your skill. But more than that, you have taught me something I had not expected. You have shown me that strength is not only in power or command, but in the heart and mind of those who serve." Daniel's expression remained calm, but a small flicker of emotion crossed his eyes. "I only did what I thought was right, Majesty." Alora stepped closer. "And yet, what you did has changed the Empire and this court. I cannot deny that your presence has made me see the world differently." He looked at her, quietly respectful. "I serve you because it is my duty, Majesty. I will continue to do so with loyalty and care." She nodded. "And I will continue to rely on you, Daniel, not only as my guard, but as someone whose judgment I trust." In that moment, the walls of pride and authority that had always surrounded the queen seemed to soften. For the first time, she felt a connection with someone who did not belong to her world, yet understood the responsibilities and burdens of leadership in a way few. Varan could doubt the following days brought challenges, as they always did in an empire as large and complex as Varan. Rebel activity flared near the northern borders. Reports of alien smugglers in the outer colonies reached the palace. But with Daniel by her side, the queen felt more confident than ever. His calm strategies and thoughtful actions allowed her to make decisions that balanced caution with decisive action. During a particularly tense council session, Daniel suggested a plan to reinforce border security while training local militia. His idea relied on human techniques of observation, adaptation, and careful planning. The council, initially skeptical, agreed after seeing the logic in his reasoning. The plan succeeded beyond expectations. Rebel incursions were prevented, and the outer colonies remained safe. News of this success spread through the empire, further cementing Daniel's reputation. The court and citizens alike began to see humans as a force worthy of respect. One afternoon, Allura walked through the palace gardens with Daniel. The silver trees swayed gently in the wind, and the 3 moons above cast soft light across the crystal pathways. The air smelled of blooming flowers, a rare moment of peace amidst the constant responsibilities of ruling. "Daniel," she said, breaking the quiet, "do you ever think about the future?" He looked at her calmly. "I think about how to serve, Majesty. The future is shaped by what we do today." Allura smiled softly. "You are patient, disciplined, and loyal. You have earned a place by my side that no one can take away. Not by power, not by pride, and not by whispers in the court." Daniel bowed his head slightly. "I am honored, Majesty. I will always serve you and the Empire with all I can give." For a long moment, they walked in silence, the only sound the gentle rustle of leaves. The queen felt a quiet sense of calm. The court had changed, the nobles had learned, and the citizens had seen the value of loyalty and courage. She realized that the empire was stronger not because of fear or pride, but because of trust, respect, and the quiet strength of those who served with honor. The weeks passed, and the palace slowly settled into a new rhythm. Daniel continued his duties with unwavering focus. His calm presence inspired the younger guards and even some of the older, proud nobles. The humans' courage and wisdom became a standard against which others measured themselves. Queen Allura, too, found herself transformed. She had ruled through authority and strength for many years, but now she understood that true leadership also involved trust, humility, and the courage to recognize value in unexpected places. One evening, as the sun set over the capital, the queen summoned Daniel to the balcony overlooking the city. The sky was painted with shades of gold and violet. "Daniel," she said softly, "the court has begun to see the truth. Your courage, your loyalty, and your heart have changed more than I could have imagined. I am proud to have you by my side." Daniel bowed, his expression calm. "It is my honor, Majesty. I will continue to serve as I always have." Allura studied him, realizing that the timid human who had first arrived at her palace had grown into something extraordinary not through force, but through quiet strength, honesty, and courage. "And you have done more than protect me," she said. "You have shown this empire that loyalty and courage are not measured by species, size, or power, but by the heart and will of those who serve." He nodded. "Thank you, Majesty. I only acted with what I believe is right." The queen smiled, a rare and genuine smile that few had seen. She knew the court would continue to whisper, the nobles would continue to watch, and the galaxy would continue to challenge them both. But for the first time, she felt certain that with Daniel by her side, the empire would face the future stronger than ever. The palace seemed quieter that night, yet brighter. The moons reflected in the crystal halls, and the stars above the city shone with a calm brilliance. Inside the queen's heart, there was a new dawn, the recognition that strength was not only in command, pride, or power, but in loyalty, courage, and honor.